Welcome, everybody. The topic for this week is kids say the darnest things. So we can get started on that. Also, if you have any questions, please submit them to the one that says Living Chassidus questions, meaning by text. You can submit that way. And yeah, I think we're ready.
So let's read the questions and start.
1 second. Okay, so the questions we have are, okay, do your kids sometimes say not nice things?
You want to elaborate on the question? Yeah.
So we got a question of a child, and it seems like he was calling a family member, whether it's Bubby or somebody, saying like you're weird, or sometimes he says certain things like, oh, I'm gonna put you in jail, but clearly it's one of his first years in school, so it's kind of, he's clearly not getting that from home. And the question is, how do we deal with that? How do I react to those not nice things when he says them? What if he continues to say things like that? And also, if the mother or the father are not in the room, how should the grandmother or the sibling or whatever, how should they react to the situation? Yeah, I think we'll start with that. There's a few follow-up questions, but that'll be a good start.
Yeah. So with a lot of these things, we need to understand the age and the stage of the child. The main question is, does the child understand? I think there's sort of two main reasons why this happens. One is the kid doesn't understand what he's saying. Kids say things. Kids say the dumbest thing. They just say things. They don't think about it. Or they don't realize. They might understand on a technical level what they're saying, but they don't realize what it means. And that's sort of like an innocence type of thing that kid needs to be taught to appreciate what's happening, what they're saying, and the results of those, and this is a sensitivity that we all have, and we hopefully produce and get better at to understand those sensitivities. But kids, they haven't learned that yet, and so they're learning it. But the other reason that it could be happening in general, might be more that I don't know about, but the other general reason is because they understand it has an effect, and they're looking for that reaction. And so if they're taking these two scenarios, you have to treat them differently. So we'll take the innocent one as an easy one in essence to deal with, and that's the kid doesn't understand what he's saying or doesn't appreciate it. For example, tonight, one of our kids said, younger kid, he goes, I'm going to shacht you. He doesn't realize what he's saying. Like shacht, like we shacht an animal. Yeah, we play shacht, and he doesn't realize, and even when they're young enough, even that he understands what the words mean, but he doesn't really see, there's a level of das he doesn't have. So he says shacht, yeah. So you know what that means? Like, yeah, shacht, he got hurt. And he's like, yeah. He doesn't even appreciate it. So when things like that happen, or a kid says something like that, so then we need to educate them. We need to teach them. Try to use examples. Try to explain to them. You have to sit. You have to stop what you're doing. Make sure which will help them realize that something major happened. You're not showing them any emotion, like getting all excited, because that means they see something happened. And they learn something here, not necessarily a learning experience, but more like a learning like this has effects in a not necessarily good way for them. They might want to use this as like a tool to get on people's nerves or something. So you come from a calm place, we have to discuss this. This is important. And you try to go to their level, like an eye level, and you ring. If you can't do it, like you're in the middle of something, you have to try to find a time to do this and do it. And you talk about it and you bring about it and you try to bring about it in a way that kids understand. And a simple example of this, not in this exact scenario, but the idea of bringing, I try to learn with Levi. He's a little older, he's 7. So we try to learn every week, a little sikha, like a short version. And So I like it, and I think something everyone should try to do with their kids, because you have to try to teach to them a way they can understand. So the example that we were talking about was, what is it? When it goes from below to above? Yerida l'tzarech aliyah. So how do we translate it? Descend for an ascent. To go down to go up. So I try to explain. I'm like thinking to myself, how do I explain this? I'm like, so I said, you know what it's like? It's like a rubber band. You pull it down, and we had a whole ring. Why would you pull the rubber band down? You want it to go up. We have to pull it down to go up. And I had a whole ring, and he understood it, and he really, really understood it, like a level of das. And now we can talk about this concept all the time. And when he's something in his life he's had and he's struggling, so he's like, it's Yerida l'tzarech aliyah. It's like the rubber band. We're pulling the rubber band. It's like exactly. So in these scenarios, when you're talking about something, you try to farang about it to make them understand, so they can get that maturity level to understand that these things to say is not nice. A simple way you just say it's not a nice thing to say, we shouldn't say it. But the kid doesn't really get it. And if they listen to you nicely, then they'll make sure, no, but they don't really get it. What you want to try to do is try to explain to them, make them understand really what, like the power of the words. And in a way, it could be, using a marshal or something that's different, but they could appreciate it and say, this is the same thing. And it could be, it takes a few times because they're young and they don't really appreciate it. But it's, it's an important, it's a teaching moment, as they say. And so that's like, they just don't understand. You want to?
Yeah. So one of the things that we've worked on is this whole concept of actually taking these concepts in Torah and Chassidus and actually explaining it at their level. So for example, if they come and they say, Bubby, you're weird, or they say something not nice, so we could say, take a moment and say, there's a concept that we shouldn't do something to someone else that we don't want it done to us. So I explain this a lot in the bath because my kids love the bath. And sometimes they have a negelwasser and they go and they pour it on someone else's head. So I said, and clearly the other person didn't like that. So I said, would you want somebody to pour that water on your head? And they usually say no. So I said, okay, so now we have to learn the lesson that if you don't want it done to you, then please don't do it to someone else. And we explain that, and we explain it in different contexts. And sometimes it's in the bath, sometimes it's in, the dinner table or whatever. And we try and discuss these concepts in a way that they can understand. So if a child is calling their bubby weird or calling somebody a not nice name, we could say, would you like it if that's done to you? And if you don't like it done to you, then let's not do it to someone else. That also doesn't mean, though, because sometimes kids go and say, but yeah, I want it. I want them to call me weird. So I say, okay, well, they don't like it. And that's another concept in Chassidus, which is we have to be sensitive to someone else. Just because we have something that we like doesn't mean that we have to give them that or we have to do it in that way. We have to be sensitive to the makabel, sensitive to the person who's receiving and what they need. So again, it doesn't mean at that point in time sit down and have this whole farangin. It could, depending on your child's age and their maturity level. But honestly, one of the most important times, it's when it's calm. When you have that free time, when the kids are playing nicely, I usually try and I do turn off my phone for a long time, but I'm saying if you can remove your phone from your distractions, you can actually play with them. And in that play, you can explain so much. I've explained really, really deep concepts by just playing with menchis with them or just building with something with magnet tiles with them. And I say, oh, it broke. It's hashgacha pratis that it broke. So there's that concept. There's also sharing. And so a lot of times you could spend really good quality time explaining beautiful concepts when it's not that negative time period, when it's not that, the kids are overtired and hungry and, a whole mess. Then that's a good opportunity to have these types of farangins.
So the second reason why this could be happening is because the kid does understand what they're saying, maybe not fully, but they understand that it causes a reaction. And they get enjoyment out of seeing people floss uncomfortable, and so they like push it. So then you have to stay calm and not show emotion. And then you say, this is not acceptable, we don't speak this way. If we're gonna continue speaking this way, you're gonna have to please leave the room until you're ready to understand until you're ready to speak properly. and the kid will see that it's not beneficial, especially when you follow through with your words, because that's what we learned last week, and we've already gone to that stage. Hopefully, you keep on trying, but you'll get to that stage where the kid understands that you're serious with what you're saying. If you tell them, listen, if you continue, you're gonna have to leave the room. So then the kid's gonna understand that, and then he's probably not gonna do it. Another thing is, like, I have an example a little bit. A few years ago, my mother came, and she's not religious, and it was a Shabbos, and she was on her phone, and so I didn't say anything, and so one of my kids, they were like, "Hey, like innocently, like, Shabbos, you can't use your phone." So my mother was like stuck; she didn't know what to do, and she doesn't want to tell them. And I was fortunate enough to be close enough to see what happened. So I came to my son and I told him, and like I'm like, what do I do here? Like on one hand, like he's right, but so I said to him, it's important that we speak to our older people with respect, and you have to have kivud avayim. You have to respect parents and grandparents. And you have to make sure that we speak respectfully. And do you think the way you spoke was so respectfully? You have to understand that it doesn't matter what they're doing. The way we speak to them should be in a respectful way. And it sort of like circumvented the whole issue. We didn't deal with it with the elephant in the room, so to speak. And my kid learned a lesson, and he moved on to do something else. Learning, I hope that I have to be careful when I speak. But afterwards, my mother was like, she loved it. She really loved it. And
I want to add, though, that at that point in time, Sharon didn't make a whole fanfare. He didn't, make a whole, we can't do that, we can't do that. He stayed very calm, and he said what he had to say, and it was very matter of fact. Like, we don't speak like that to our elders. It's so pure, and it's such a Torah perspective, because when it comes to this, a lot of new age approaches to chinuch, there's a concept which is, this whole concept of evolution, that we're moving further away from monkeys. So if we come from monkeys and now we're humans, and now we're getting smarter. So the more we go, the smarter we get. And that's kind of like the secular perspective on these things. That said, from the Torah perspective, the reality is that the pinnacle of the height of everything was Har Sinai. That was when everything was true, everything was clear. We got the Torah straight from Hashem. That was a beautiful, the most exquisite time period. That said, we keep moving further from Har Sinai. So anything back, anything closer to Har Sinai, we see and we look up towards. But anything further from Har Sinai, we realize that as a generation, we're desensitized from Kedusha, we're desensitized from holiness. So therefore, we have an innate respect for our elders. We have an innate respect for grandparents, because they are wise, because they are closer to Torah, because they are closer to Har Sinai. So as much as it may not play out exactly, like for example here, my mother-in-law was using a phone, but that flavor always carries through in a Jewish home. We always show respect. We always have kivud avayim. We always show respect for our elders. And when you do that, when you show respect for your parents, you speak with respect and awe and reverence and love of your parents and your elders and the elders in the community, and that type of, when you have that attitude, you don't have to make a whole fanfare, but your children will notice. They will see through what you do. They will see and learn from your example. That makes sense?
Yeah. Any questions on that? No?
So far, I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay.
So that was one point. And also, you can always type up questions. You can speak up if you want. I just don't see anybody unmuted. And also, you can submit follow-up questions. So, okay. Should I go into this?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a.
Okay. The next question. Okay, so it says, so there was a story that one of the kids came home and there was a new Mora. I think she'd been there for a week or two or a few weeks. I'm not sure exactly. And the child said to the mother that the Mora hit him. So the mother now is a little stuck, because on the one hand, it seems very unlikely that the Mora actually hit the kid. On the other hand, she's stuck because it's either her child is lying or there's a certain sense of chas v'shalom abuse, and she's not quite sure how to deal with the situation. So she has a question, first of all, in regards to, how do I know if my kid is telling the truth? And how do I teach them what lying is and why not to lie?
How do you know? I don't know how you can know if they're telling the truth.
Okay, so can I go on that one then? I think we spoke about this one of the times before, about having a open, healthy communication with your teachers. And there is always the fear, and you always have to be aware, and you always have to, discuss privacy, safety, all of these kinds of things with the moment your kids go to school, essentially. Like, is somebody touching you in an unsafe way? Somebody touching you, somewhere where they're not meant to be, private parts, like it's a real topic that needs to be discussed with your kids. You need to teach them how to speak about these things, so that way they can tell you. We also have a rule in our home, and we don't make a big deal about it, but it in smaller opportunities we discuss it, that we don't have secrets. We don't keep secrets from mommy and Abba. We don't do that. And even if somebody tells you that we can't, don't tell mommy and Abba, you always have to tell mommy and Abba. So one of the things I think it's a very good thing to have is a good conversation with your children, not in a stressful environment. Sometimes it could be during bath time, and we're just, we're washing. Oh, has anybody ever touched you over here? Or like, very calm. Don't make a big deal about it. And also no keeping secrets. We always have to tell mommy and Abba everything. So if you instill that in them, and you make it a positive thing, not like the moment they tell you something, you freak out and you scare them, because then they're not going to want to tell you anything. So both of those things I think are very important. That said, how do you know if the kid is lying or not? Essentially, you have to, hopefully you've built a relationship with the teacher, then you can ask, and you could even introduce it as, I know this may sound crazy, but this is what I keep hearing. I'm not sure what's the story. Again, you could also have more opportunities to discuss it with the child and see if the story adds up. Like, you don't necessarily have to accuse the teacher of doing something wrong unless, the child really tells you a full story, what happened, where, and discuss it. And then you'll find out, like, if he says, okay, when I was, I don't know, like if the whole thing is unrealistic, so then
maybe
it doesn't make
saying
sense.
Discuss it with the kid more and try to find out more details, and then he'll be clear or be a little shady, and be like, okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Right, correct.
I think together with that, like one of the things that we talked about, one of the main points of last week that I think it really plays itself out in a lot of areas, is the general principle that there's the right thing to do and you benefit, and then there's the other thing that you might want to do or might try to do or might think to do, but it's not going to be beneficial. And the consistency that you have in making them realize that doing what they get told, or doing what they're meant to be doing is good, and not doing those things is going to be non-beneficial, whether it's leaving the room, whether it's hurting themselves or anything like this. That's like the principle that underlies a lot of this stuff. So to explain that story, when I was a kid, I was older, I wasn't that young, like our kids, like whatever we're talking about, maybe I was 10. And I ended up eating something, and I didn't really share with anyone. And so everyone came home, and so my sister knew that I had eaten it, but I didn't tell her. It was obvious it had to have been me. So my sister called like the family. So we decided to have a family meeting. I'm like, oh yeah. So they're like, hey, what happened to this? It was pudding. What happened to the pudding? So everyone looks like, I don't know. So they go, Abba, did you have pudding? And he's like, I didn't have any pudding. And I go, my sister, did you have any pudding? No, I didn't have. They went around, they came to me. I was naive and young. And it's like you clearly did the wrong thing. So you're like, no, I didn't have it. And they're like, 1 second. If no one had it, then how come there's no more pudding? So let's try that again. And they did it again. And I said, no. And so they said, it must be that someone is not telling the truth. And I don't think I owned up then, but I remember, and this is distinct for me. I remember like later, like things happened and I would say something and I'd say, we're not really sure because last time we talked about the pudding, you didn't tell the truth. So we can't really trust you. And it was with things that I knew they knew I was telling the truth. But like, it really hit me. And I was like, man, it wasn't worth it. Like it was hard to own up, but being that I didn't own up, I was suffering for it. And not in like a punishment, I got hit in any way or something. It just like, I saw the results that if you lie and you're not trusted and you lose that trust, and trust is a very important thing. So it's the same thing with these things. Like if you see that it's clear, so you explain to them, maybe this is a little young, but the idea is you explain to them that lying is not right, it's not proper, it's not according to Torah, everything is emes in Torah. Mom and Abba speak the truth, and it's very important. And if you see it continues, then you can sort of explain it. My family were overplaying it for the intended purpose of making me realize. And I think it's the same thing. You're trying to show them it's not beneficial, so you say, and the kid will say, yeah, I wash my hands like he does every morning. And you say, 3 days ago, he said something that wasn't true. So I'm not really sure if he did it. And the kid will, what do you mean? But you're not. And that will sort of teach them in a sort of roundabout way, but in a clear way that like it's important to tell the truth.
There's also this idea, which I think is hard for many of us, but that we have to make sure to live by that as well. Like if we're telling a story and we're trying to make it sound cuter, or we're trying to make it sound more fun or more funny or more whatever, sometimes we also add things into the story, or we also make it sound more something or other.
Or when we speak to other people.
Right.
And the kid knows what's the truth. And we'll say something and the kid will pick up on what you're doing. And we're so, unfortunately, we're like used to it, like just sort of bending it or making it sound a little different, and the kid will pick up. So either the kid will be straight and he'll say, hey, that's not what happened. And then you can be honest and say, he's right, this is exactly how it happened. Or you can tell him to be quiet, or he'll be quiet about it, but he'll pick up. And he says, I see, we don't have to say everything according to MS. And we can bend it around, and that's very not good. And bring on the topic of a lot of issues that you'll find in your kids. If you're honest with yourself, you'll notice that it's really your issues. And it's just the kid showing you says it in Sikha. That's the way it gets shown by a mirror. What you're seeing is a mirror image. The Baal Shem Tov, the Rebbe explains it. You're seeing a problem in the kid, chance that's within you. And if you want it to work, want him to change, it starts at home. There's a quick story of, I can't remember his name, but he was a Litvish Gadol, and his son was in Cheder. And the Rebbe came to his father, the Gadol, and he said, how did you teach your son to say brachas so beautifully? It's like so much kavanah. It's beautiful. I've never seen such a thing. So he goes, I never taught my son to say brachas. He goes, probably he saw me saying brachas, and that's what he just learned. Whatever, he just copied me. And I think it's the most important lesson. We want our kids, and I saw this myself, say brachas too fast. But then you look at yourself, and you're like, oh, well, what do you want from the guy? He doesn't know. That's what he's seeing. And so if you want your kids to be certain ways, check in yourself if you're being that example. And if you are, the kid will automatically do it that way.
Yeah. I think that covers a big chunk of the lying. I think it's also the aspect of, again, not necessarily discussing it right then and there, although if you can discuss it right then and there, that's great, but reinforce it in a time where it's calm, when it's, it says in the Hayomim that you're meant to spend 30 minutes a day on the chinuch, working on the chinuch of your children. So a big chunk of that is realizing what you need to keep track of. And the more kids you have, now we have 4, and the more kids we have, the more we're like, this is what we're working with this kid, and this is what we're working with that kid, and this is what we're working with that kid, and keeping track of that. That way we can reinforce it throughout our time with them when it's not that crunch, dinner, bath time, everybody's going crazy and they're tired and hungry and whatever. We spend that quality time, positive quality time, no phone. You can play with them. You can read them books. You can, even just doing homework with them. I mean, many kids from here don't necessarily do homework yet, but for us, doing homework with our kids that's the quality time when we have these types of farangans. When we discuss Yerida Letzar Chalia and the rubber band, like all these types of things, we can do it during the calm times, and that's when you can have very deep farangans, even with a 3-year-old, even with a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, even with a 2-year-old to a certain extent. As long as you explain it to them, you show it to them, they really do understand a lot. They might surprise you. Okay, the next question is words that they heard in school. I think we kind of discussed this a bit about, sometimes they say, oh, I'm going to kill you, or, today we heard this one, I'm shachting you. And
so you sit down, you have a farang, and you farang it out with them and try to explain to them the way they understand and how it's not a good thing to say, and be consistent on it. If they say it once and you make a whole big speech about it and you discuss it with them, and then they say it again and you don't do anything about it, so they're not going to learn that lesson. If you say it consistently once, 2, 3 times, so they'll understand, and either they'll understand the point you're giving, or they'll understand that if I'm going to say this word, I'm going to have another half an hour discussion. I just want to go play, man. Just leave me alone. I'm not going to do it. And I'll learn that lesson.
Yes, back to consistency. If you didn't hear last week's class, go check it out on our YouTube channel and you'll find it there. Okay. So in regards to a follow-up about last week's class, how does this work in regards to after school transition, bedtime, bath time, connecting with our kids when they're tired and dysregulated? And for some of us, the only time of the day we spend with them other than breakfast. That is a very good question.
I think we touched upon it, and I was thinking about it during the week. And also, I'll be honest, we only really started to hit us recently. But the most important thing is that your kids, and also for ourselves, sleep and eat, but not eat bread. Eat like proper healthy, like proteins and stuff. When the kid comes home and the kid is starving, it's everything is infinitely harder. What we call hangry. So you give them proper food, something that's filling, and then you'll see it'll change. And I've seen it with myself, and we, it's important. So when you see that, sometimes you have to change your schedule around, but that's something that's important to look into. So when you're coming home and everything's a little bit crazy, some people have like sort of a downtime where the kids just like do something calm, and that's also good. It could be some playtime, and also like play together with them, hang out some quality time with them. Important, again, make sure that they're full. And if they're tired, it's also fun. We have one of the issues is the kid started going to school now and comes home, he's exhausted. He literally falls asleep in the bus sometimes.
And he's the third stop. So
yeah,
he's exhausted.
Yeah. So it's a challenge to see, and we're trying to deal with it in different solutions. But recognizing that and seeing what we can do as parents to take care of that. Also, like going to sleep, waking up. We have this clock. I don't know if everyone knows about this. I think a lot of you do, but there's a clock. It's called a wake up clock, and basically it changes color. It's like an alarm it's not an alarm. It doesn't wake you up, but when the kid wakes up, he looks at the color. If it's yellow, if it's yellow, that means I should continue sleeping. If it's green, it means I can get up. And that way you make sure the kids get enough sleep. But sometimes the kids, they wake up the crack of dawn, 5:30, and they're up, and they don't need to be up. They're still tired, and they could try to sleep more. And so you could try to work on getting them to have better sleep, so then they're not so tired at the end of the day.
There was a follow-up question. Okay. I'll tell you, I'm going to do this question first in regards to the school schedule, and then we're going to go back to the one about lying. So for after school schedule, would you recommend 1 snack, then 2 quality time, then 3 bath, then 4 dinner? Probably. You also have to see your kids and what's considered a snack.
Yeah.
So for us,
how hungry are they?
Yeah.
But if we're saying they come home and they're young, honestly, I would maybe put bath a lot. Also, like think about why do we eat the biggest meal at the end of the day? What do you eat the dinner and you go to bed? What's the point of that? If anything, you should eat the dinner earlier if it's possible, try to do, if they're hungry, instead of the snack, switch that snack for dinner, and they'll come home, they'll eat a hefty meal, and that gives you the next 2, 3, 4 hours that you have with them
quality
much better.
Okay, so I gotta admit, I kind of fought against this because I'm like, what do you mean? How can we eat dinner that early and then give them a snack before bed? And then I tried it and it worked so well. It was just like doing homework just became a breeze, hanging out with them, bath time, everything was so much easier because they were well fed earlier on. So I started, our snack is more of like a half dinner. Like I do like a hefty soup. I do like some cheese or some, meat if I have a tuna or a salmon or whatever. And like I do more of like a heftier thing right when they come home from school. And then the rest of the time is just such a pleasure. And then when Abba comes home, then we have like a family dinner together, which might be a little lighter. So again, it depends on how it
Also,
works. And it doesn't always work for us, but we try at least.
We're working on it. But also could be making dinner the night before and just heating it up, and going in bath, like bath for us, and I think to most kids, it's tiring. So you have to also schedule out. If let's say your kids, they had a nap during the day, and you're like, oh, he's going to go to bed late, or she's going to go to bed late. So maybe put the bath time, let them play a little longer. That tires them out. Use those things for your advantage versus not using disadvantage. But every case is different. Just I think it's important to realize if they're tired, just leave it. I noticed at a certain point, all our struggles were basically before bedtime. It was like this hour, and so I was trying to be strict and make sure follow through. And then like I'm like, he's just tired, man. He just wants to go to bed. And then you see them. You don't realize you see them something like they lie down on the floor. Like, yeah. If he's lying down on the floor, it means he's meant to be in bed.
Or lying down on the couch.
Lying on the couch, lying down on his chair, he's eating. So it's like, okay, finish, let's go to bed. They can start arguing with you and stuff, and it's like in your head, I'm not going to deal with them. I'm not going to try to argue them or show them or make them follow through. I'm just going to try to get them to bed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, sometimes we just skip situations just to get them to bed. It's like, once we are well rested, then we can, deal with this better.
Yeah, and when we did that switch, so much made it, like it changed everything. Yeah, and it could be changing your schedule a little bit. It could be maybe me having to get up a little early to spend that quality time that you're talking about that you miss. It could be you have to go to bed earlier. Go to bed earlier, wake up earlier. Our schedules are flexible. The kids' schedules aren't that flexible.
Yeah. Okay, so that was great. Now let's
back to the question.
Yeah, so there was a follow-up question in regards to the lying. How can you differentiate between lying and the kid's perspective of a situation? Misunderstanding of what they see, I guess not jumping to what they say being a lie. Yes, I love that. So it's a few different points in here. One of them is I completely agree that not necessarily that just because a kid says something doesn't mean that they're lying. That is absolutely true. And I think if anything, we should flip it. And
it is flipped.
Yeah.
Kids don't naturally lie.
Yes.
They pick it up from somewhere. And unfortunately from us and then people around us.
Yes. And so therefore the assumption with them is that they tell the truth. The starting point is that your kids tell the truth. If you happen to find out, just like Sharon's story, if you happen to find out that they didn't tell the truth, so then you show them in different ways, we lost that trust. It doesn't have to be as direct, but it's well, last time you said something, but I'm not sure. Like, we don't lie. We have to tell the truth, something along those lines. There's also, so definitely if you go into it assuming and hoping and believing that they want to tell the truth and they did tell the truth, you hold them up to that standard. If you assume that they're lying, then they'll fulfill that assumption, and that's not a good assumption to have.
Also, you'll experience it a few times. You'll start to figure it out. It's not like, I don't know, it'll take one or two. You'll notice in a few things, and then you'll start to be suspicious of it. Like I think it's clear. It's not like one time they lie, one time they don't. If they lie and they get away with it, then they'll continue doing it. But you're like the kids, they don't, they're too young to realize how to lie well. We've mastered the art, but they haven't. So they're like, they'll say something and you're like, clearly, like, I'll wash my hands, and you'll look at their hands and it's dry. So it's a problem we got to deal with.
Yeah. And if you deal with those smaller ones, then you don't have an issue with the bigger lies. Chas v'shalom, that's for sure. So yes, and I like that other part of the question, which is how like differentiate between lying and the kid's perspective of the situation. So for example, with the story where Mamora hit me, I don't know if maybe the Mora was just, directing the class by mistake. She walked backwards and boom, she bumped into him and he thinks that she hit it. So maybe there's a truth that he is saying, but he has a misunderstanding of the situation. So yes, absolutely. If you want to, the ideal thing to do is to get the most amount of information from your child and make them feel like you really truly believe in them, because you do. You really truly believe in what they're saying. And you want to instill in them this trust that you have in them. You believe in them, you trust them, you are on their team. All of these things, that needs to be given in as many ways as possible. If it happens to be proven wrong, then we deal with that.
And also, like you said, if it's a misunderstanding, so that's another teaching moment to teach them, to explain to them, how do we know what's hitting versus an accident, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, there was a third, let me just make sure. Okay, we kind of did that one. Okay, so there was the last question was brought up. So there was a lot of different discussion about bullying and books to teach about bullying. So I definitely am a huge fan of Sarah the Bucket Filler. I'm sure there's many other ones. So I can't say we're the experts in bullying, but we do want to give a perspective on it. So one thing is how to deal with the actual bullying, which if it's possible that if you try with those students that are, acting rowdy or saying not nice things, if you try with them the ideas that we gave in the last class, it might be very helpful and it might stop it. That said, right now, the main perspective I want to give is how to help the child that's being bullied. So for starters, I'm gonna speak from experience. I've been there, done that. I definitely got bullied plenty growing up. And I remember that some of the most powerful things was how I processed that information. So on the one hand, if a bully comes and says to you, you're ugly or you're short or you're whatever, silly, dumb, whatever you want to call it. So on the one hand, it could really destroy us inside. And it does. Let's just be honest here. Anytime, even now, as an adult, getting criticism is not the most pleasant thing ever. So how much more so as a child when we don't have really those tools. So as a parent, when you see your child being bullied, a very, very, very important thing to explain to them is, how do you intake this information? How do you, and you don't have to say it in these words, but how do you file that in your life? Is this something that is going to hold me back? Is this something that's going to hurt me for the rest of my life? Is this something that just because they said I'm dumb, that's it, that's the truth? A mean kid said to me I'm dumb, so therefore that's just the life I have to live? And it's not. And the reality is that we have to constantly remember that everything is hashgacha pratis, that every situation Hashem puts us in is a learning situation, whether we're learning what not to do. So for example, if a child's being bullied, we say, oh, wow, well, obviously we feel really bad for them. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. And we show them love and hugs and everything, whatever love language that they need. But we remind them that, we don't need to be necessarily hating this child. Hatred with hatred doesn't add to anything good. If anything, many times the child that's bullying is the child that needs the most attention. It's the child that needs the most love. It's the child that needs the most care. So we were dealing with this with one of our kids, and we realized that the child that was bullying, his family life was really going through a hard time. Parents were dealing with very, very hard struggles. Siblings were dealing with very hard struggles. It was a very messy thing. And here he found someone who he could, channel his anger and channel his hurt. So what did we tell Leivik? What did we tell one of our children? We said, maybe he's very sad. Maybe he's just going through a really hard time. Maybe, and this actually did happen. Our child told us that this boy didn't really bring such good lunches to school. He would bring like or not even lunch, snack. He would bring like a tradition soup, like those ones with you pour the hot water. And that was his snack. That was his lunch. So I said, maybe what we could do is bring them a snack. Maybe you could give him a snack as a present. And he did. Leivik took a cheese stick and chips or whatever it was at the time that we were sending for snack, and that totally ended. Like the child, now they're friends, and that made such a beautiful impact. My son learned to see that other people's actions does not define them, and other people's actions are the words about you don't define you. That might be just a really hard situation that they're going through. That might be a really hard, whatever they're dealing with and whatever they're struggling with. Another point I want to make, unless you have something to.
No, I think I'll just add to that. Like, I think like what we're saying, like we said over there, is that the way we define it for our kids, it's like we can make a big deal out of it. It's like, oh, what is this kid doing? Making fun of me, it's so bad. Or we can just like, never after that kid, that's what he has to do. You get to play. So I work for Aleph, and I hear a lot of crazy stories. And what it really did to me was appreciate life. And a few things that I have in my life have started to make me appreciate a lot that I have. That I used to be very unappreciative, unfortunately. And I learned to be appreciative of everything. And one of the things I do with my kids all the time, I didn't tell you this. In the morning, I was walking early to go to the mikveh, to shul, and there was a guy sleeping in the hallway. So I was like, oh.
Like in our building?
Yeah, in the hall. Like not in the hallway, like in between the two doors.
Oh my.
So I went out the door and I closed the door, locked it so he couldn't get in. I was like, whoa. So I went to my thing. So I was walking to school with Leivik, and so I was talking to him. I said, by the way, you want a crazy story? I said, there's a guy sleeping over here. And he was like, why would we? I said, he has nowhere to sleep. I said, we should be so appreciative that we have a bed. We get to be at home, it's nice and warm. And I had a whole harangue about how like appreciative you should be of your situation that you don't even think about. But like, there's a guy that's sleeping over here just to be a lot more warmer than outside in the actual cold. And like, look at it, it doesn't have a bed, it's on the floor. Imagine sleeping on the floor. And it's the same thing when a kid comes bullying him. One of the perspectives that we try to do is like don't take it so personally as much as feel bad for that guy that that's what he has to do. And you're like, wow, and it's probably like what's going through his life that he's decided to be not nice to you. And he's probably going through a lot of hard things. And it changed the perspective. The bully loses all its power because the bully's trying to gain power over you. And it's like, and you're telling him he's doing this just because he has no power. And so the kid like understand, he sees the perspective very differently.
Yeah, very, very good tool. Another perspective on it is also the fact that Hashem gives us challenges for our own growth, number one. And Hashem gives us challenges so we can help someone else grow. So I've been through some crazy things in life. And one of the best lessons I have learned for myself is to realize that it's probably going to happen to someone else at some point. And it's probably going to, I'm not the only one dealing with this, and I'm not the last one dealing with this. And so therefore, Hashem is really giving me an opportunity to help someone else with a situation. So here we can teach a child, I know it's a big concept for a small child, but in reality, if we discuss it with them in their age and in their particular situation, Hashem doesn't do anything that's bad. This doesn't feel good, and we can understand that, we can empathize with the struggle that child is going through and shower them with love, absolutely. And then when they're ready for it, share this concept, share this aspect, explain to them that Hashem is giving us a message. Hashem is teaching us a lesson. How can we be nicer to others by not doing what this child is doing? How can we be nicer to this child? How can we see him or her in a different light, not with hatred, not with giving them power over us, but instead with this viewpoint of I wonder what's going on with them. I wonder what's happening that they're so sad that they need to pick on me. So hopefully this will give everybody what to bring about with their kids. And yeah, it's true. Kids say the darnest things, both mitzad lying And we have to teach them that the Torah is emes, and we always say the emes, and we have to raise them to realize that's who they are. They are emes, and so therefore they have to fulfill these shoes. Children don't lie naturally. Children are they say the truth by nature, so we have to show them that. We also have to show them that our words impact others. The way we speak to Bubby, the way we speak to our friends, the way we speak to our siblings, it hurts them. And we have to be careful. And as a parent, we have to give them the right words. Let's say you want this toy, so instead of saying, I want it, say, okay, can I please have it? What can I have a turn in 5 minutes? It's your job to raise them, to teach them how to play with each other. It is your job as a parent to teach them how to relate to other human beings in a society and work together in a loving way. And lastly, if your child is the one that's getting bullied, chas v'shalom, or you know a child in your class or something like that that's getting bullied, to give them the strength to see the bully in a different light and to possibly give them positivity, whether it's make a play date with that particular child and that way they play one-on-one and that way they can grow their relationship together, whether it's bring them a snack and again, it's not in like a sucking up type of way, but it's more in like something must be going really rough for you if you feel the need to say something not nice to me or hurt my feelings. And they don't have to say that directly to the child, but that should be the background. That should be the mindset that they come into it, and not hate the child for it, because that way you take away the power of those words. You realize that the words, you're ugly, you're short, you're dumb, you're whatever, they're not real. They're just a reaction to whatever the struggles that this child is probably going through. Anyway, I hope that helped. If there were any questions, we did have some questions, follow-ups from last week. So I hope everyone tried some of the things we spoke about last week, and I already know that some people did, and it worked beautifully. So if you want to share anything from that, I guess you can submit questions or let me know. Okay, it seems that no one is. Okay. I hope everyone enjoys. If you want to catch all the other classes, you can go on our YouTube channel, Living Chassidus. Huh? Living Chassidus. You can search for Living Chassidus on YouTube. You can catch the recordings. And yeah, hope to see you guys soon.